Does the 0 point remember things? What about various islands that have been surrounded by the 0 point? Does it remember those? What about other realities that existed previously that we don't remember? Will we ever go back in time to see those realities? Hey, what's up everyone? Hello and welcome to Two Nerds on a Couch. I'm Beth.
And I'm Thor. Today we are talking about our predictions and theories about the Fortnite OG End Event, Chapter 5, and the future of Fortnite. As always, we could be right on the money with our predictions, but we could also be way off. So grab some popcorn and get comfortable as we go over these theories and predictions, starting with various time travel references in Fortnite.
Fortnite Battle Royale recently celebrated its 6th birthday. Over the years, the storyline has evolved into a fairly deep lore that can truly contain an immense omniverse. The 0 point is both the linchpin holding the omniverse together and a means of travel to every universe. It makes you wonder, if time travel was possible, how would it affect the past, present, and future of all reality, including the 0 point? In Chapter 4, Season 4, we saw a time-traveling billionaire collector, who also happened to be a vampire, go back into the past to take precious objects like Oro's skull, the mythic goldfish statue, and items from Chapter 1, Season 5. But did you know, this wasn't the first time Fortnite hinted at time travel references? Fortnite has had several Back to the Future references between the hoverboard and a character that is dressed up a lot like Marty McFly in Save the World. There is a red DeLorean-looking glider that came out during Chapter 1 Season 5 called the Hot Ride. The guitar walk emote from Chapter 1 Season 9 is similar to the way Marty McFly plays guitar on stage in the movies. In Chapter 2 Season 5, Jonesy is wearing a serape as the Jump 88 style that's pretty similar to what Marty McFly wears in Back to the Future 3. Even Chapter 1 Season X was called Out of Time, just like the license plate of the DeLorean. And we could go on, but that seems like enough references to make our point, right? Donald Mustard, the now former Chief Creative Officer, made a reference to Back to the Future in a tweet. In January of 2022, he posted a GIF that said, "To be continued," and that GIF was directly from Back to the Future Part 2.
The butterflies in Fortnite are even references to tons of things like transformation, hope, faith, and even time travel. The butterfly effect is the idea that small, seemingly trivial events may ultimately result in something with much larger consequences. In other words, they have non-linear impacts on very complex systems. For instance, if a malfunction didn't happen with the scientist's suit in Season X, he wouldn't have needed tapes to remind himself about that specific junction in time. He wouldn't have needed to make a new suit out of mech parts, and the black hole event may not have happened because he would have used other methods to save the 0 point. We'll come back to the scientist in a bit, but let's explore a couple of theories about the 0 point first. Dr. Sloan mentions to Jonesy that his mission is to extract, but she doesn't go on to explain what she means. She says he knows the job and that he needs to do the job. What if she meant that Jonesy needs to capture or extract the 0 point in order to combine it with the Chapter 4 dormant 0 point? If this happens, the combination of both 0 points could be the catalyst for a black hole event. Each 0 point might possibly have different memories or data points for the history of the Omniverse. Suppose that by combining both 0 points, we end up going back to Chapter 2, but it's a mishmash of what we consider the Chapter 4's petrified memories and the trajectory of Fortnite OG version of what Chapter 2 could have been. The Chapter 5 island could have a lot of similarities to Chapter 2's island, but things could be rearranged. We imagine that if two 0 points combined, it will actually have the inner loop that we know lasts approximately every 22 minutes, but it will also have the outer loop that makes it nearly impossible to penetrate from the outside forces.
What if the paradigm is still alive? It's been established that multiple forms of Zero Fusion exist. The Foundation did his own version of Zero Fusion back in Chapter 2 Season 6 by fixing the 0 point which created the Spire. It's possible that he would have to have used some of the 0 point energy to keep himself alive and to fix it at the same time, therefore weakening the outer loop, thus letting in the last reality. Once the mothership came in and pulverized the spire, the Foundation was freed, but also forcefully rifted into waters around Gotham. This means that the Paradigm could in fact still be alive, but is completely trapped inside the petrified 0 point of Chapter 4. During the black hole, whether it happens like before, or is caused by a combination of the two 0 points as we just discussed, it is entirely possible that Paradigm will also be freed. Back in Chapter 1 Season 8, during the Unvaulting and Volcano event, we saw a desk near the 0 point. There was a helmet on the desk, which we later learned belonged to Singularity. In theory, Singularity's job with the Imagined Order could have been a guardian of the 0 point. She may not have been protecting it, however, she may have been keeping it imprisoned. The suit that Singularity had was similar to the Paradigm's original suit. We know that the Seven made their suits in such a way that it could both draw a bit of power from and protect themselves from getting squinched by the 0 point. What if Singularity is actually a friend or a relative from Paradigm's home reality? This could explain why their armor suits were very similar.
Another theory is that Jonesy has spoken to the scientist about the future and how freeing the 0 point might have actually been kind of a bad idea because it became incredibly vulnerable. As Jonesy and the scientists talk, they both decide that strapping the time machine to the rocket will be the best way to make the time machine work again, since it's currently busted. The stipulation being that they have to cause the black hole in that timeline in order to wake up the 0 point again in Chapter 4's version of reality and have it functioning properly again with its own loop and protections. Then as soon as they force the meteor in a downward collision course towards the 0 point, they rift out with the rocket and both of them in the time machine just before the black hole happens. It could turn out that they've set the time machine to Chapter 2 to gear up 10,000-fold in order to fight the last reality and finish them off for good. The bulk of Chapter 5 could be exploring and remembering events that took place during Chapter 2 in order to build up the proper defenses against the last reality. Instead of ending up on the literal Chapter 2 island, it will be a remixed and reforged version because of what happened during the Fracture event. Depending on a number of choices that Jonesy makes, things could change for the better or worse.
Hiro Nakamura from the show Heroes possesses the ability of space-time manipulation. In the show, a cataclysmic event is nearly guaranteed to happen. Hiro uses his time travel ability to figure out the best possible outcome for Earth. It turns out, one of the other characters with super abilities needs to save a very specific cheerleader character in order to save the world. Since Jonesy has possession of the time machine, it is possible that he and a travel buddy time hop to figure out points during the past or the future with the best possible outcomes for the 0 point and therefore all reality. What they may not take into account is that every jump forward or backward in time could greatly alter their own personalities and perspectives in the world. If they aren't careful, they could end up like Geno. Through the audio logs left by Dr. Sloan, we learn that she had Jonesy go back in time to take care of something. She says that he should know what to do, that he knows the job. It is entirely possible that there are multiple outcomes for each and every action that Jonesy decides to take. Dr. Sloan wants him to extract someone or something from the past. Jonesy could, however, end up speaking with the scientist about everything the 0 point has gone through, about the events of the past and the threat of the last reality. We know that Jonesy has been transporting the broken time machine from Pleasant Park to Dusty Divot. We can also see that someone else, or a group of people, have been constructing a rocket launch pad at the same time. So it's highly likely that Jonesy is going to extract all of those people. Whether that ends up being members of the IO, the Seven, a mixture of the groups, or something else entirely remains a mystery for now.
The world has changed. Did a different character actually meet up with Jonesy to help him? The scientist is presumably not on the island until Season X. So who is building things at Dusty? Other things that are strikingly different from before. Fatal Fields has extra barns instead of the farmhouse. The haunted castle doesn't exist. Corrupted zones don't exist, but Kevin does? The volcano, pirate area, and sunny steps aren't on the island at all. And part of the winter biome has shrunk. Plus, the biggest oh crap is that the rift events exist. Does IO exist in this crazy timeline? Is Singularity helping Jonesy? Or has Jonesy convinced multiple IO operatives to help? Did Kato Thorn actually go back further in time than we thought, and therefore Butterfly affected things? Or did Jonesy go back further than the machine's readout? Are the differences in even the smallest details going to completely change Sloan? Will she even exist in what we know as the present? Dr. Sloan is already experiencing deja vu and memory loss. But is it loss if she never had those memories anyways? What if somehow Amy ended up in this timeline and she is the one building things up in Dusty? Time travel is crazy business. Now we wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone for putting in code 2 Nerds on a Couch in the item shop. It helps us make these videos and we appreciate you.
Jonesy was sent back in time to possibly fix mistakes Dr. Sloan and the IO made. Jonesy is a brilliant man. In fact, he can speak 342,000 different languages and is skilled enough to learn entire languages in a matter of days. As well-meaning and brilliant as Jonesy is, he may decide to take a different approach than Dr. Sloan intended him to. Here's a bit of a crazy theory. What if, because of Jonesy's actions, everything actually goes back to maybe even before the island flip, and the 7 are actually the ones in charge of the 0 point, and they are basically the IO, but under a different name? What if we go into a different version of the Chapter 2 island, an alternate universe if you will, and the 7 are guarding the agency, with yet another Jonesy snapshot as sort of an 8th member, or perhaps Amy? What if this alternate timeline has Midas as one of their right-hand people, and he builds a similar, yet different version of the device to push back the storm? We go back in time sorta to Jonesy's office, and the pictures have changed, and we get different information than before. Maybe instead of it being Jonesy's office, it's actually Sloan's, because their roles are sort of reversed. Then, instead of a flood happening as the aftermath of Midas's device malfunctions, we are hit with multiple volcanic eruptions. We've been warned about an upcoming volcano. We've experienced the story in some sort of rotation. Some of the same events happen, but in completely different ways than before. And we might eventually actually defeat the last reality, only to be faced with a different foe. Someone, or something, more sinister. One who can summon even more evil creatures than zombies or cube monsters. What about the plethora of monsters and nasty things from the Ice Moon? We learned about their existence in the Marvel x Fortnite Zero War comics, but have yet to see anything from this. Another branch of this time travel business could actually have Jonesy going further into the past to discover the true origins of the 7. Could some of the 7 be composed of former IO agents? What if the visitor is actually Jonesy? Through time travel, he could have convinced himself to join the Foundation and the scientists with their endeavors to save the 0 point, but kept his identity secret from everyone, even the 7.
Why does she make me keep saving you?
Fortnite has a vast history of not tying up loose ends. There are almost always more questions than answers. Does Jonesy have meetings with his snapshots to bring them all up to speed? Or do they all sort of innately know Jonesy's past? What actually happened to Midas? Is he fully dead from getting eaten by the shark? Or has he figured out how to exist outside of the inner loop? Something that never got explained was, why is Jonesy in a prison suit in Chapter 2 End Event? Or was that a snapshot? What happened to the scientist, the visitor, and the origin at the end of chapter 3? Did Amy ever make it to their reality? How would she go about rescuing them? Is Amy actually the one who has been building things at Dusty Divot? Is she the person or entity that Jonesy is supposed to extract?
Chapter 4 has basically been a big transition between major storylines and plot points in order to soft reboot or retcon into a new storyline, which may or may not involve some of the same characters. Sloane might actually be trying to get the Seven and IO to merge together to become one entity to protect the 0 Point, especially against the last reality. She for sure has seen the error of her ways and wants to make amends, plus she hates the cubes enough to do it.
Random thought, is Sloane actually the visitor? Or is Midas the visitor? Is Jonesy about to sacrifice himself for the good of the 0 Point?
Only time will tell. We have several other theories, but honestly, they couldn't fit into this particular video. We do hope to explore those ideas in the future. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to our channel, and let us know what you want to see in our next set of predictions and theories about the world of Fortnite. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to use code 2nerds on a couch in the item shop, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!